Hello, I'm Justin. This is Talk Junkie. I want to ask you something, and I want to use this crazy example, this absurd pretense, this almost sci-fi ideal, but to ask a simple question. What's worth sacrificing, and what are you willing to sacrifice? Keep those two questions in mind, and also kind of think about what really makes life fun or important or valuable to you. Think about those things. Now, relax, and we're going to get crazy for just a second. People who see aliens or get abducted often describe them as small, thin, big gray head, gray bodies, all the same color. If they're the grays, I think there's other different forms of aliens, but the grays in particular. They don't speak. They telepathically communicate. No sex organs. Really, the mouths are useless. The eyes are big. The ears are basically gone. Now, look, hang in there. This is not, you're not on the conspiracy theory podcast. Just hang in there. Now, there's a belief by many people that these grays are humans who traveled back in time to kind of check out their ancestors. Keep the tinfoil hat off, hang in there. Now, I look at evolution, how we evolved. I don't believe we're being visited by aliens. I believe other life in the galaxy definitely exists. To date, I've not seen any proof. Not even these things that the government's now willingly releasing as unidentified aerial phenomenon or whatever. I need more than that. I need something. I don't know what, and I don't judge anybody that believes it. But I look at evolution and where we came from to where we are to where we're going. The human body has changed substantially. We went from shorter to taller, thicker to thinner, and in an American case, back to thicker. But there's this drive. There's this need to be slim, to have that CrossFit body that by one section of people. And it's becoming, I'm optimistic about that futuristically. I think people are going to be in better shape in the future. I really do. I thought people are making more of a conscious choice to eat better and do better. It's just, going to take time. I think it took time for us to get it as out of shape. This is including me. I'm out of shape. It took us time to get that out of shape, but it's going to take time for us to get back in shape. But I think that transition is making, and body change is going to happen. I believe that skin color will become obsolete. It's a matter of melatonin. I think it was in I cannot say the word. It's not melatonin. Melatonin is what you take to sleep. Anyway, the M word that I can't say in people that give them the variations on skin color. Obviously people in genetically and historically from warmer places closer to the equator require a darker skin. People in more in very cold, enclosed climates, very cloudy, overcast climates of that nature, have a lighter skin. And with the advent and hopefully the continued usage of temperature control and indoor living and things of that nature, artificial light and all the things that make good little worker bees in their cubicles, that and also the the intermingling of all of these people who are deemed to be different races because of the color of their skin. Biracial marriages and things of that nature are doing away with these boundaries, and I think that mixed with evolution and time and our new habitat will eliminate that color. It'll become one color, whatever the color may be, possibly gray. And there's this new push, this new desire for people to not have to be limited by being a him or a her, by a he or a she. They want 50 other options, not based on biological fact, but based on preference and I guess to strike back at the patriarchy or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't understand that. And then there's this push, this urge, this desire to communicate artificially, to communicate electronically, to not have to interact on a physical level. I think people communicate more now than they ever have in the past with larger groups of people. It's just very impersonal, and it's not vocally, and it's not face to face. We are changing as a species, and mental and social evolution is very clear to where we're going. We are a war-based state. I mean, that's just what we are. But some of those things could possibly lead us out of that, and that gets us to this big question, this big what if, this pretend scenario, this thought exercise. Let's say those grays are us. Let's say for the sake of this process that aliens are real, they're us time traveling, they're grays, and they're exactly the way people explain them. And let's say that the way we got there was we made different choices in how we were fed and how we ate, and that first ended up with us being more physically fit, but then that lended us to maybe we depleted our resources and had to take in some sort of artificial food, but that artificially created food perfectly sustained us. So we didn't gain muscle tone, we didn't gain these things, we just stayed sustained, not fat, skinny, healthy in a different way than we know. And let's say that we fought and changed and first mentally, then physically, with variances over time, and we found a way to phase out gender. And we phased out reproduction, and reproduction became completely artificial. Something like Brave New World, where all reproduction is artificially done, and there's no attachment from the parents. It's they're donors, and from it we create life just to sustain life as it is. And we do away with speaking and communicating. We evolve to a point that whether it be a chip in the brain or whatever it is, that we can send electronic signals, or we evolve to the point of telepathy. I don't know. We're imagining that there's gray aliens. We can imagine there's telepathy. We've evolved to the point that there's telepathy, and that we can communicate that way. And that, as a result of that, there's no poverty, and there's no starvation, and there's no war. So we have perfected society. We've given rise to a peaceful, fair, balanced society that is equal in every measure. There is no hierarchy. There is no preferred gender. There's nothing to make anyone any less than. To do that, we made sacrifices. There's nothing to make anyone any less than. There's nothing to make anyone any greater than. We made sacrifices. See, we had to sacrifice physical interaction to get there. Not just conversation and interaction between people, but romantic interaction, physical touch, kiss. That we had to sacrifice that. To eliminate genders, we had to sacrifice the genitalia that defines the gender, and to sacrifice parenthood, we had to sacrifice sexual desires. Those had to be sacrificed. Those had to be given away. No matter who you are, someone somewhere finds you attractive because you are unique. But we sacrificed that. There's people that you find attractive, that person that maybe you marry or date or just remember that you find attractive, that their appearance alone, not for a superficial reason, but simply because of your feelings towards them, their appearance alone changes how you feel, affects you, influences you. You had to sacrifice that. You had to sacrifice for the greater good. You had to sacrifice for the ability to have no gender, to have no restrictions, to not have these constructs that have apparently held people back for so long. Now, you had to forfeit art and music. You had to, because when you forfeit love and physical attraction and all these things, because they do go hand in hand. That's not a crazy thing. It does go hand in hand. You can love someone and not be physically with them, but to love someone the way you love that certain person, there's a physical thing there. It doesn't mean they have to look a certain way, that they have to fit a certain mold, but there has to be a physical thing there. And that love is physical. As much as it's emotional, it's physical. And without love, I don't know how you make art. I don't know how you make music. Without love, you can't have hate. And without love, you can't have disappointment. And without love, you can't have joy. You have to eliminate the full range of emotions. And if you eliminate the full range of emotions, you eliminate a lot of things. More than likely war, more than likely violence. But you sacrifice a lot of things too. You sacrifice great art. You sacrifice great music. You sacrifice great literature. You sacrifice a lot of the things that emotion is required in the process of making. Those physical changes to where everyone becomes the same. Everyone looks the same. It's the perfect world. No one can be picked on or made fun of. No one can be judged or looked down upon. No one can be different. No one can be special. No one can be unique. No one can rise above the crowd. World peace, the lack of hunger, and the lack of poverty. The three greatest things we could ever ask for. But would we sacrifice being human for those things? Would you sacrifice looking at your child and seeing a unique individual, someone different from every other person you've ever seen, someone who you see yourself in, someone who has ideals, beliefs, love, hope, things that can't be created, things that can't be manufactured, things that you have to give up to have this perfect world? would you make that sacrifice? Would that sacrifice be worth it? Would it really be for the greater good? Be a lower population. There's things that would have to change to impact the earth would go back to being what it was. Maybe that led to such scientific achievements that we could fix the earth. But would you sacrifice it? Would you sacrifice all those things, all those parts of life for those 3 things or 4 things? Those are 4 of the greatest things ever. Those are 4 things that, man, if you could have those 4 things, a pristine earth, no hunger, no war, no poverty. That's utopia. That's heaven. But that's a lot of the problem with any description of heaven. Every time someone describes a heaven, regardless of the religion, regardless of the instance, they want you to give up a little bit about you. They want you to change a little bit about you. And every day you got to give up a little bit more. You got to change a little bit more. You got to do things that maybe you don't believe in, but it's for the greater good. It's not a sacrifice. It's for the greater good. I want all 4 of those things. I want all 4 of those things. I don't ever want to see a kid do without ever again. I don't ever want to see someone starve. I don't ever want to see someone homeless. I don't ever want to see someone have to leave their family and go off to war. I don't ever want to see a city bombed out. I don't ever want to see a piece of trash beside the road or in the lake or in a creek ever again. I want those 4 things. But I'm very selfish because I want people. Because I like people more than anything. We're not designed to be perfect. We're not designed to be what they call them, the big grays or the little grays. I can't remember. It's not how we're constructed. Would you? Would you make that sacrifice? If you would make that sacrifice, email me. Tell me why you would make that sacrifice. If you wouldn't make that sacrifice, email me and tell me why you wouldn't make that sacrifice. That's a hard, hard choice. A hard, hard decision. I would have to say right now, I don't think I would make that sacrifice. But if I'm being fair and I'm being honest and I'm being correct, let me follow it with this. I live in the United States. I'm white. I'm a male. For the moment, I'm healthy. For the moment, my children are healthy. For the moment, I'm employed. For the moment, I'm not in poverty. And for the moment, I'm not starving. And for the moment, I'm not at war. See, that's the other part of this process. It's easy to say, yes, I would do this, or no, I wouldn't do this. Yes, I would sacrifice that, or no, I wouldn't sacrifice that. But you have to stop and look at your situation. But you have to look at your situation honestly. See, I could have said this. I could have said, well, I married a woman who had a child out of wedlock in high school. I'm a high school graduate with no college degree. I live in eastern Kentucky. My job is phasing out people. I've already been laid off twice in the last year. Luckily, I've been brought back. I could sit and give you all of these things. I did drugs. I drank. I was married at an extremely early age. I could sit and give you all of these things, all of these negatives about my life, if that's how I chose to approach life. But see, if I want to be fair with this question, I have to be honest. And see, the honesty in the situation is, if I look at all the reasons why I should be all for this, then I make I don't know. I make an easy choice. Go, yeah, I'm all for it because of these things. But I'm to the contrary. I'm against it. But I'm against it because I love art, and I love music, and I love writing, and I love my wife, and I love my kids, and I love people, and I love the differences in people, and I love the uniqueness in people. And I love life in the way it is, but I hate these four things, and they're four huge things, and I want to compromise. I want to find the middle ground. I want to have my cake and eat it too, but I'm willing to admit that I'm willing to stop and examine why I may be biased. But see, I chose the honest things about myself. I'm from Eastern Kentucky, yeah. That's not a disability. That's not, okay, I've thought that way when I was younger. It's because it's a childish thought. It's an ignorant statement. I still live in a free country. I have advantages over so many people. So I don't look at, I live in Eastern Kentucky. Instead, I look at, I live in America. I have some options other people don't. So, I have to take that into consideration when thinking about this issue. It's looking at it from both sides. Because when I first sat down and started thinking about this issue and just kind of going over it in my head and debating it back and forth and playing both roles in my head, it seems like such a simple thing, like such a fun little goofy question. Would I be a genderless, big-headed, telepathic, gray alien if I had the option? Because you don't want to seem superficial. Does appearance matter that much? I'm not an extremely attractive person. I'm let myself get overweight. I mean, there's things about me that I don't like, that other people don't like, that other people are not going to find attractive. So I'm not doing it because I'm a model and don't want to give up what I worked so hard to get or what was given to me. No, it's just, I don't know. I like the way my wife looks. I like that my wife looks different than other people. I like when I look at her or I look at my kids, I'm looking at a unique individual. I like that. That's the way my friends look. I got friends that I can just see them and it just makes me smile. It's because that's them. That's part of their essence. They're not all beautiful. They're not all ugly. They're just them. They're just who they are. And I love who they are. But that is a part of it. That outside appearance is a part. We want to make it not a part because we want it to be superficial, but it's not superficial. It's a part. Their voice is a part. I want to hear that. If they can't speak, if they have to use sign language, that's something else that makes them unique. And I want to see that. I want to have that interaction with them. I have a problem with uniformity. I have a problem with conformity. So I'm pre-designed to not want to be evolved into such a thing. But the real question is, what would you be willing to sacrifice? I lived in Afghanistan, in one of the war-torn villages, where I've got the Taliban oppressing me and using me at every turn, and I've got Americans coming in trying to help me, but causing just more conflict and more than I've already had to endure, and my kids are sad, and my daughter can't be free, and she can't be herself, and she has to be beaten and talked down upon. She has to hide her face and not let other people see her. She has to be restricted in that manner. And my wife has to be treated less than me. And I can't treat her as an equal, even though I feel she is. And my sons are being indoctrinated by a religion and a thought process that I don't agree with and I don't like. But if I were to even utter those words, who knows what they would do to me. If I was in that situation, if I was someone of a darker complexion, someone from a poorer place, someone with less of a future, with less opportunity, someone who has experienced depression, someone who has lived through war, someone who has been hungry multiple times, someone who has seen their kids starve and beg, then maybe I would sacrifice all that art and all that poetry and all that music for a chance for my family to feel equal to yours. It's not a comfortable question. The good questions in life are not comfortable. You have to think about it. And what I mean by think about it is you have to literally put yourself in a place of a person who would undoubtedly sacrifice those things, who would give everything to have that opportunity. Then you also have to look at it as somebody who would fight and die to keep things the way they are, to keep the art, to keep the poetry, to keep the music, to keep the individuality. I did that. I looked at it from both sides. I looked at it from both sides to the point that I got emotional. And I developed an emotional attachment to both ideals. And at the end of all of that, I sat down and I asked myself the question, would you make the sacrifice? And I came to the conclusion that I don't know. And that's perfectly fine. It's okay to not know. At least you took time to evaluate both sides. That has a value. That builds you as a person. That gives you value as a person. It helps you be a better person. And it's such a ridiculous question of something that's probably so far out of the realm of possibility that it's crazy. But the thought process works on everything. The thought process works on politics. The thought process works on war. The thought process works on gay marriage. The thought process works on abortion. The thought process works on equality. The thought process works on gender neutrality, whatever they call it. The process works on transgender people. The process works on everything. The expression, you don't know someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. It works for that process. What are you willing to sacrifice? Nietzsche said, the surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think. Nietzsche said, there is not enough love and goodness in the world to permit giving any of it away to imaginary beings. Nietzsche said a lot of things. Nietzsche was arrogant. Nietzsche was different. But you can learn a lot of things from a lot of people. I think I've shared the quote before. It's one of my favorites. It's on the front of the book. When I first opened my quote book, I scribbled it in. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. The email is talkjunkie@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe. See if somebody else wants to enjoy the same thought process. Don't suck. Don't die. Be good to people.